Can you tell me, Kurt, you just mentioned about another reason why you didn't report the oil cover-up when I did. Why didn't you?
Well, you know, at the time, obviously, I needed my job. I was still working, but I had also heard, you know, about death threats and stuff being made, and wasn't so much just to protect myself, but, you know, I have kids that if for some reason, because I spoke up, they decide they want to make my ass disappear, then my kids lose their father. So that's the only reason I didn't.
Well, isn't that like in the movies? I mean, that's all a conspiracy and made up stuff, or do you believe that could really happen?
Oh, I know it could happen.
And why do you believe that?
You know, it's the old saying, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, in this case, they would just make the squeaky wheel disappear instead of fixing it.
Do you believe I'm a squeaky wheel for Enbridge?
You're more than a squeaky wheel. You're a locomotive that just won't go away in their eyes. It's the best way I can put it. Curtis Elliott.
And where did you work before?
SET Environmental.
Are you from local or from far away?
I'm from Battle Creek.
Battle Creek, Michigan.
Yep.
And so you were called to help clean up the oil spill?
Yes, I was.
Did you take a HAZWOPER course?
Yes, I did.
Did they teach us the proper ways to clean up oil?
Yes, they did.
And can you tell me some details on how you should clean up oil properly?
Well, there's an evacuation limit that you have to follow, different chemical readings that, you know, have to be adhered to, specific PPE that has to be worn.
Okay. And did we ever have gas masks?
Yes, we did.
Did they tell us to use them?
No, they did not.
Well, at any point in time, did you feel that the oil was not being cleaned up properly in your community?
Yes.
Can you explain?
There was a certain area, I don't remember the exact coordinates, so on and so forth, but I was using hedge trimmers to take down brush to find oil, and it got to where I just kept finding oil, and when I told my supervisor about it, I was told to quit looking for oil and leave it be.
What do you mean quit looking for it? Isn't it our job to clean it up?
Well, so I thought that's what I was hired for.
How did you feel about that?
I was pretty pissed off.
But did you do anything?
At the time, no. I had a family and needed to protect my job.
And that's logical. We have a lot of people that didn't say anything, a lot of workers, because they didn't want to lose their livelihood. They know that they're going to... Do you believe that you would have got fired if you would have complained?
Oh, I guarantee I would have.
Well, why would you get fired if you did the right thing and you make complaints that oil is still there but it's not being cleaned up properly? Why? Why do you think that?
Because their idea of the right thing and mine are two different things.
Well, this is your community. Do you believe the oil should be cleaned up completely?
Yeah,
all of it?
Totally.
So, now, when I came forward and made complaints about the oil cover-up, what did you do?
I still had to work. I mean, I had a family and bills and stuff to take care of, so.
Right, and I know that, and I thank you now that you're coming forward. I appreciate that. Do you know what month it is right now?
August.
And what year?
2012.
All right. So it's been 2 years after the spill, and you've seen some of my videos in the past, and you've heard some of the stuff that I've told you and that you've seen. What do you feel when you know that there's oil still in this river and they're opening it up for people to swim?
I think it's ridiculous. I think they should finish the job and do it right.
We're going to talk about Ceresco Dam. Now, Ceresco Dam is an area that I actually got fired for. I made complaints about to Enbridge that oil was being left there after Enbridge said it was clean, and EPA then said it was clean. So, when do you believe you went back to work? I got fired in October of 2010 at Ceresco Dam. When did you go back to work at Ceresco Dam to re-clean up what they said was already clean?
I want to say maybe roughly first part of November, and I did go back to the river after that in a few areas until December 18th.
Okay. So, and then you said you were at Ceresco Dam on the top side cleaning up, and this was, it was winter out, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was snowing. Yeah, we had submerged oil.
And did you get all that submerged oil out?
In my opinion, no.
All right. Well, can you explain?
At the time, the weather was just getting too inclement. I mean, we couldn't, you just couldn't work. We were starting to get ice, boats were freezing, engines wouldn't run. It was just getting too cold, too nasty.
All right.
So they pulled us off, supposedly just until spring. I've never been called back.
Okay. Now, do you feel that it's possible because you worked with me and you were hired when I got hired that they didn't want you to come back?
In my own mind, yeah, I think that's a possibility.
All right. And does that make you mad?
Oh yeah, it pisses me off.
Now, are you mad at me for reporting the cover-up, or are you mad at the company for, burying?
No, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the company for being irresponsible.
So, can you tell me about when Jason Buford told us to leave oil that was obviously there?
That day, from what I recall, I was working in a little bit different area. I mean, the same spot, but a little bit different area than everybody else. And the deeper I went into the brush finding oil, it actually seemed to kind of piss him off that I kept finding oil, and I was told to quit looking for it just to deal with what we had.
So Jason Buford told you to leave the oil that was obviously in eyesight and not touch it.
Right.
And he seemed mad about that you were finding it.
Yeah, he seemed irritated that I was using the hedge trimmers to take down brush to actually locate oil that was there.
All right. Were you at a meeting where the foreman from SET told us that if it bothered our conscience, we didn't have to cover up oil, but if it didn't bother our conscience, just do your job and follow orders?
Right. Yeah, I do remember that meeting.
And can you tell me a little bit about it? Can you kind of give your own opinion of what happened?
Well, basically, the way I took it was, if it bothers you, don't cover it up. But at the same time, if you don't follow orders, you're probably not going to be around too much longer. Is kind of how I interpreted it.
What's your opinion of Enbridge?
Enbridge, I think they're a useless organization that just work people to death. Half-ass things just enough to get by, and put just a little band-aid on it to, fix the problem instead of actually fixing the problem.
What do you mean by a band-aid? Well,
let's do it just up to EPA standards per se, even though they know there's more there, So just because the EPA says it's okay doesn't mean it is, in the fact of if Enbridge knows that there's more oil there, they should, want to take responsibility for it and clean it up totally. Now,
do you believe that the EPA got, I would have to say, duped or misled that areas were clean? Were you ever in areas where you saw where they had oily boom and then they would say change it for nice pretty white boom to make it look good? Did that ever happen in anything you ever saw?
There were times, yeah, that it seemed like it was kind of a dog and pony show per se. Let's make it look good for when they come out, but and it always ironically seemed to be right before they came out. So
right, yeah.
I think what you're doing is commendable. I respect you for doing it, and hopefully it makes a difference.
Do you remember the people that were at the meeting where John Duncan, the supervisor for SET, told us that if it bothered our conscience, we didn't have to cover up oil, but if it didn't, then we just needed to follow orders?
Right, yeah, I remember that.
Can you tell me who do you believe was there at that meeting? Oh, that's local.
Right. Local, the best I can recall would have been Kevin Jacobs, Kenny Decker, Matt Marcos, myself, you.
I think that's about it for the locals.
Yeah, that's all I can think of locally.
And then
the other guys were from other areas.
Right, and Sean Decker and.
Right.
It says, I have a question. Why did Jason tell us to cover up oil? Isn't it his job to clean it up? Now, who is Jason that they're referring to?
Jason Buford, he was like a subcontractor, I believe, of some sort with Enbridge.
And then it also says, and let me look down here, at the time there was deadlines, was trying to meet it. Now, do you know anything about the deadlines? Were you ever told about that?
I had heard about the deadlines, and I had heard if the deadlines weren't met, that it was so X amount of dollars, so many, you know, for every day that you went past the deadline. And you know, the exact numbers or days, you know, I don't remember, but I did hear about deadlines, and I know we were under the gun because they worked us like dogs.
And so you believe some of the areas weren't cleaned up properly because of these deadlines?
It's a good possibility.
All right. And then at the bottom it says, I understand, wait till SET is gone, then say something. What do you believe the foreman, Mike Martinez from SET, meant when he said that?
Wait till SET's gone, maybe to protect them a little bit, or to protect our jobs at the time, so at least we had a job until, you know, it was all said and done, or as far as our contract went.
And then when he said say something, say what?
That it's not being taken care of properly, that the cleanup's not being done to the extent it should be. It's being done half-assed, just enough to get by, and like I say, put a little Band-Aid on it.
And who is the company that was responsible for that?
Enbridge. I never had these problems until I worked on the oil spill.
Right. And
with the, you know, the respirators we were provided, required to wear, or well, supposedly required to wear. I was made to shave my goatee and everything, but never wore it once. You know, aside from the other symptoms already described, that my physical size and appearance, I'm not as well built as I was. And I'm just as active as I ever have been. I feel like, you know, I've lost cardio, I've lost like my size muscular wise. You know, I mean, you've known me, I've always been a, you know, big guy, and I feel like I'm losing that, and even tried working out, and it doesn't seem like I can regain it. You know, of course, I mean, I'm sure people, well, it's this, it's that, it's nothing to do with the oil spill, but it's funny, I looked and felt different before, and after I look and feel different too, so.
Right, and we have hundreds of people that say that, so it's not just you, Curtis. But I ask these questions because, and I try to give people information because they just don't know the truth about what happens to these workers that work in these spills. Several people from the Valdez oil spill have passed away now from getting sick. And
well, we're expendable. I mean, you know, there's some monkey lined up right behind us that'll jump right in as soon as we keel over. So, you know, that's why they don't give a shit about us.
Who doesn't give a shit?
Enbridge, SET. My wife at the time died on December 12th. A week later, SET laid me off.
Yeah, SET laid you off right after your wife died?
Yeah, a week after.
Oh, wow. How do you feel about that?
It pisses me off. Yeah, you know, as if I wasn't already in a bad enough state of mind. It's like, okay, I lost my wife. A week later, I lost my job, which happened to be a week before Christmas. You know, I felt pretty shit on. And they used us, abused us, kicked us to the curb, and hit the fucking road. I mean, it's that simple.